All right, welcome to today's Skill Up series session. My name's Dr. Emily Springer, and I am joined by some fabulous faculty from NU, Dr. Maggie Broderick and Dr. Lori Bedford. And today they're going to be diving into CiteMastery, unlocking the power of scholarly citations. But before we dive into that, just a few reminders. We absolutely would love if you want to have conversation in the chat or ask questions in the chat. You can also ask questions in the Q&A if you would like. So of course, all of that is available to you. You can select the show closed captions at the bottom of your Zoom if you would like to see the scrolling set captions throughout today's session. And if you need me for anything on the technical side of things, you can find me in the chat. And without any further ado, I am going to pass this over to Dr. Maggie Broderick to kick us off in today's session.
Thank you so much, Dr. Springer. And I am very, very honored to be here with my colleague, Dr. Lori Bedford, whose idea it was to do this today for everyone. Thanks so much for being here. Dr. Bedford, would you like to say hello?
Yeah, thanks everybody for being here. This is kind of one of those topics that's very important. Love talking about it, but don't get many opportunities because, at Sunday dinner, that's not what the family wants to talk about. So happy to have that opportunity to just share some ideas and think about how we use citations in our work. Thanks, Maggie.
Absolutely. Oh, thanks, Dr. Bedford. Yeah, just thinking about, just giggling at what you said about the Thanksgiving table and kind of talking about citations. But, a lot of us are here today because we find it so exciting and interesting. And just moving to the next slide, when we think about that, Lori and I are both sharing a whole lot of commonalities in our things that make us excited in that nerdy way, right? So just like many of you coming here today, and we're so glad you joined us, we think a lot about citations because it's important. It's important for quality scholarly work. It's important for us to really be able to, sort of like a dissertation defense, defend what we're doing in a scholarly way. And for all of the ways that we share information out with the world, maybe even beyond our years here, your work survives and continues. So one thing that Dr. Bedford and I have in common is we're very proud to be editors of the Journal of Online Graduate Education, which is called JOJ, if you want to know how to pronounce that. We just moved to a new website recently with our other editor, Dr. Dale Crow. Some of you may know Dr. Crow. He's fantastic. And we are all, the three of us, from SCOE, Sanford College of Education. So over at Joj, we, for many years now, have been working hard to bring publication opportunities for the whole NU community and beyond. So people outside of the NU community. And when we're in that role, we have to look really keenly and carefully at the citations and how those are used and really have that high bar, right, for a scholarly publication. And our peer reviewers do the same. It's a big honor to be in that kind of a role. Pretty cool. We are dissertation chairs as well, Dr. Bedford and I, and subject matter experts on dissertation committees, which is another opportunity when we think a lot about, hey, how about how we're doing some citations? How is this going? And in the SCOE courses as well. So when we're teaching a course and looking, even if it's your very first course in a doctoral program, for example, we think about these things and teaching those important skills. We've both published and presented widely at conferences, and I'll also share a link to the Advanced Research Center. I'm the director there, and I know Dr. Bedford and I are both very involved with the goings on there. And so if you have a chance to look at that, this seems like the group to bring that up. So we really do think a lot about it, not just at the Thanksgiving dinner table. So with that in mind, these are just the goals for the session. Thinking about the art of scholarly citing, because it really is an art. There's a science to it and the way we do it. And we're thinking about APA style, particularly today, but no matter what, it really is an art and a science. You have to do it right and according to the manual, and think about how you're doing it. Think about the way that you're doing it artfully. We want to equip you with some practical strategies for evaluating some articles, ensuring that you're choosing the right ones for those important conclusions, being able to defend what you choose. Discover how to assess the credibility of sources. Dr. Bedford has some excellent examples about this to share with you. verifying that that article truly presents the data and arguments that it claims. And maybe you would pinpoint some things like, this article isn't really that strong. It isn't a great choice for me to defend as a choice when I cite that. And then finally, we have some examples, like I said, that I think is really the exciting part of this discussion. Dr. Bedford will lead you in some real world examples and interactive discussions based on, things we've seen in our travels as the editors of JOJ and as dissertation chairs and as faculty in SCOE. We're like, this student intends this, we think, or this author intends this, we think, but how can we make that stronger? How can we write that stronger? How can we do that stronger? Anything to add here, Dr. Bedford, on this slide?
No, well, yes, there's just one little thing. And as you're talking about the importance of citations and why we use them, I guess the other thing that I think about is, and particularly those of us that are here that are going to be conducting dissertation research, when we're doing dissertation research or any kind of research, part of that is situating our findings within the context of the broader body of knowledge. So the citations we use demonstrate what's already there and then helps us make arguments for how we fill the gap that we're going to fill, how we fill it, and how our study adds to that. So it really isn't just an exercise in, something we have to do, but it makes our own research much stronger. Go ahead, Dr. Broadway.
100%. That's exactly it, Dr. Bedford. We just want to always grow. And, when we were talking, just as an aside, when Lori and I were talking earlier about this, we're not perfect either, right? We always have things we're working on to improve. It's always a work in progress. Doesn't matter when you became a doctor or becoming a doctor or a master's student or any of the case may be. We're always working on these things. So we'd like to start off with a little bit in the chat. I know, Emily, if you wouldn't mind helping us a bit with these responses. Could you put in the chat, anyone who's here, what is your role? Are you faculty, student, alumni, staff? What sort of is your role here at NU? And let's see who we have here and get a pulse on that in the audience.
All right, we have some students, alumni and staff, faculty, students, some faculty chairs, and then another alumni. Lots of different, some students mentioning what program they're a part of as well too. We have an academic writing coach in the house.
Wow, awesome, awesome. So a nice variety. And that just proves our point, right? It's for everyone. I finished my degree a long time ago, 2004, and I'm still always working. And Dr. Bedford and I were both saying, just like I said before, it doesn't matter your role or what your goal is, if you're looking to publish or do coursework, or if you, all of the above, we are all always continuous. Progress is the goal, right? That is what we're working on. Next question, just a quick snippet. What do you hope to gain from this session? Put that in the chat and we can see kind of a pulse on that.
And while I wait for people to expand on that, some people are interested in the don'ts, what not to do. And while I wait for others to kind of chime in, just as a lifelong learner, I'm here to grow and pick a little few snippets that I can help implement in my own work.
Yeah.
Confirm what I'm already doing and not doing, better align student needs and dissertation writing, how to publish my dissertation in JOJ or other journals, how to
Nice.
how closely our articles align with my research, assess quality of papers. Let's see. Yeah.
So all of the different goals. So we got all the roles, we got all the goals. I love it. I love it. So when we think about that, that's exactly it. Like we said, as our role as editors, we're always thinking about this, and our role as instructors and as chairs and SMEs. And then finally, here's a 1 to 5. So give us a 1 through 5 in terms of this wonderful term that Dr. Bedford coined, your CiteMastery, right? If you're a master of citations, you're a 5. I'm not giving myself a 5, but maybe somebody here is. And if you're like a total novice at citations and how to do this, you're a 1. So let's take a look. 1 to 5. Where do you feel in your confidence level in your cite mastery?
I love seeing all of the variation here. Lots of 3s, a couple of 1s. Someone's a 5, with
Ooh,
APA.
love it. Love it.
Love it, love it, love it. Yeah.
Couple of twos did come in, but I would say kind of overwhelmingly from what I can see, threes would be the
Yeah.
majority.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay. Well, that's cool. Any other thoughts on the replies here, Dr. Bedford, on the what we got in the room here today?
Yeah, no, I think that's wonderful. And it's sometimes just to, it's good to just kind of reflect on really where we think our skills are. And I think your point is really important, Maggie, that um, I got my doctor. We have so much in common. Got my doctorate, I think, the same year you did. And I feel like writing academic work, academic citing, all of that is just a continued skill that I'm building. I mean, I look back on work that I did 20 years ago, and I feel like I'm a better writer and a better citer now. And I hope that that continues. So we don't, I mean, I don't think we're ever there. I think it's just something that we continue to work on.
Yeah, continuous progress. And I
Yeah.
was just talking with students the other day about how APA style and I guess other style manuals as well are also always evolving, right? So we have to be agile and move with the times and always kind of self-assess ourselves. Okay, so we're thinking about diving in, right? We want to choose our sources very wisely. Picture this swimming pool. I know it's getting colder here in Pittsburgh. It's November, and I'm not going to jump into a pool right now. But let's put ourselves back into that summertime mode, and we want to think a little bit about this analogy of immersing yourself, really diving in. We really want to see this giant swimming pool of the research literature where we choose our sources, how we explore, and we take our time. We're going to keep coming back to that image. Think of yourself as swimming through, immersing yourself. Sometimes when you think about something like qualitative research, same idea, immerse yourself in. So we're thinking about that, and we want to use that image throughout. So just kind of think about that. And one little thing about choosing sources as we test the waters is AI is a super useful tool. We all these days, the last few years are like, wow, pretty cool tool. But remember that it's not a shortcut for really diving in. So it may be a helpful tool for you. It may help you organize your thoughts, help you with your writing. It may help you find sources, but the shortcut will not replace that immersive diving in, really testing those waters, really immersing yourself in that literature. Anything to add here on this one, Dr. Bedford?
Nope, I think you're good, Dr. Broderick.
All right, so along the same lines, we're going to tell you to test those waters, not just putting a toe in the water, right? Not just kind of like, oh, I grabbed this citation. Okay, great, I'm good. But really diving in, choosing quality sources and avoiding the murky waters. There's some, you'll see some examples from Dr. Bedford later on about the sort of not the best choices to make or the ways to avoid these pitfalls. And your best friends in this are our librarian team, our library. I've got a couple links there for you that we have to share. They do offer research consultations. It's not just you and the library online. You can get help. So use that as your swimming companion, your diving in companion as you immerse yourself in the waters. Yeah, so anything more about the library there that we should add, or is that good?
Use the consultations. Our librarians are amazing, and I'm always just I love librarians. They love helping you find things, and it's so fun when you do. So use those research consultations. You will never regret it.
They're so nice and they're really friendly too, right? They
Yep,
just they love what
yep,
they do.
helpful.
They love
Yeah,
diving in.
yep, yep.
Yeah. And so we'll have Dr. Bedford show those examples very soon, but so a few more things to consider before diving in. Just take your time to think and reflect. And these are just great free things to ponder. When you're looking at those sources, when you're diving in, not all of the articles are going to be actually research articles, and it's fine to use some things that aren't, but you have to understand what is and what isn't. Why you're using it mindfully and thoughtfully. They're not all of equal quality. Different journals, different sources, different books, different places where you're going to find things are going to vary quite greatly. And I'll tell you, as the director of ARC, we talk about predatory things like conferences and predatory journals. They exist, and we want to stay away from that stuff. So really taking your time to dive in and think about, is this a quality source? And we'll talk more about that in a minute. And then also, they're not all going to support our perspective. So understand that as you go through those waters and you see all the different fish in the sea, there's going to be a whole myriad of issues to consider, and it takes time and thoughtfulness and mindfulness. So I know you have a lot to say about quality resources, Dr. Bedford. Some things to add here?
Yeah, I would say in terms of this last one, well, first of all, so they're not of equal quality. So it's okay if you read an article and you're like, yeah, you know what? I think there are some flaws. I am not citing this. That's okay. It's also okay when we find articles that don't support our perspective, we want to use those. They're good articles, it's good research. Use them. That provides evidence that your research needs to be done, that there are some differing opinions. So I want to do research and kind of fill that gap. Why might people think differently? I think sometimes we get really passionate. We want to prove our point, so to speak, but just take a step back and really dive into everything. Even if we don't like what the findings are, they're strong. It's now something we need to consider and how that fits in with our research then. We can't, or we need to be careful really just dismissing something because we don't like what it says.
So true. And the bias that we have to check ourselves for our
Yeah.
bias, right? And our
Yeah.
positionality as researchers. Exactly. I will fall prey to this one.
Yes.
Like it's a confirmation bias. Like, oh yes, I love that. That's what I,
Yeah.
we're going to talk a little bit about cherry picking, and we want to avoid that on the next slide, I believe it, or maybe the one after that.
Yeah.
So when evaluating an article, consider the quality of the article in a wide variety of ways. It's not just sort of, is it in a really great journal or one you've never heard of? It's not always that. Weak or unclear research problem in the article, poor alignment among the components of the article. Maybe they didn't address the literature well enough, and they fell into the same traps, like we're saying, they do too. And methodological flaws in a study that you're reading. Or maybe they're overstating their results, right? Like this definitely solves everything. It solves literacy problem, it solves hunger problem. No, but maybe it has some results that are absolutely appropriate. So we have to think about that with an article. Just the same lens we're using for ourselves. Am I really saying what I want to say? Is the author really saying what is actually true here? And this can be these are tricky waters to think about swimming in. What do you think about that stuff there, Dr. Bedford?
Yeah, you're spot on, Dr. Broderick. And I think that really working on evaluating the articles that we read and thinking about it with the, critical eye, also helps us evaluate our own work. When we see things that are done really strongly in the literature or things that we think could have done better, we can incorporate that into our own work. One of the things we want to do if we're a dissertation student and going to be putting research out there and perhaps writing articles is to be able to self-evaluate. When you're in your program, your faculty is kind of giving you guidance and telling you where to go and giving you suggestions on how to improve. But once you're practicing out there in the academy, you certainly have colleagues, but we really need to be in a place where we can self-evaluate and say, yeah, what I wrote is really good, or, what I wrote needs some work. That's okay. We want to be there.
100%. And that makes me think of peer review. When we get reviews at the journal, we ask usually two people to review an article, and we'll try to make sure that they know enough about that content, about what's going on with the article to give us their opinions. They might differ quite a bit. It could be really interesting to us as editors to see, oh, well, they found this and they found this, and they'll uncover weaknesses. And then the author says, oh, thank you for these interesting points for me to consider, right? So just like a dissertation committee, there's always a lot of things, and it takes a village, so to speak. So this turtle is really my favorite image in the entire presentation. Please take your time, like the turtle or the tortoise, whichever this is. They always get the terminology confused. Take your time. Slow and steady wins the race. Okay. So take your time, look at those waters like this sea turtle going to look in, immerse yourself, swimming, diving in, not just a toe in the water, get yourself totally in there. And then when you're going through and looking at the sources and using them and navigating those waters, we grab these sources, we find what we think will be useful, and then you use them wisely. And so when we do that in choosing and using our resources, we want to be respectful of what we think the author's intentions are. So we really have to think about that. Take your time and don't try to sort of overstate what you think the author said. Really think carefully about it, like the wise turtle here. Anything else to add there, Dr. Bedford?
Yeah, no, that's good. I love the turtle too.
I'm thinking like the turtle today. Slow
Mhm.
and steady wins the race, and
Yep.
all the ways to go. So yeah, using your sources wisely. Sorry, your sources wisely, navigating those waters. You see this diver with his equipment. use your proper equipment. Like we mentioned, the library, the librarians, APA manual for those of us using APA, which is a lot of people here, and the APA website. We have those cited later in the presentation. Don't go it alone. You know, when you're diving, you don't do that by yourself. You have your ASC Writing Center and you have your APA support and the resources there at the ASC, the writing coaches to help you because they can see some of these writing flaws that we'll look at in the examples in just a second. Anything else to add there?
No, I don't think so. I think you've covered that one, Dr. Broderick. Thank you.
Oh, sure. So there's the cherry picking one. I was going to mention that. So writing and citing mindfully. Just keep swimming, okay? So I always think of Dory. Just keep swimming from the Finding Nemo movies. We want to be thoughtful. We want to keep going through our swimming through and finding the right things, choosing the right things, and then citing them mindfully. Appropriate attribution. And then when you are writing, we don't want to cherry pick. We don't want to overstate. Like I said, I'm guilty of that. I'm like very enthusiastic and I'll say, oh, this is it. I've solved world hunger. No, no, I have not. Show the convergence, show the divergence. Don't cherry pick. Guide the reader carefully with your words, which we'll talk about in a minute. And think about your thoughtful use of your citations, your mechanics, your word order and word choice so that you're not accidentally saying something with your words that you actually didn't mean to. So we're going to show that in an example in a minute. We want to get our ducks in a row. So, so I think we're moving to examples. And so Dr. Bedford is going to take the lead here.
Okay. Before we do that, Dr. Springer, are there any questions in the chat that we've missed?
No questions in the chat that have popped up, but just Dr. Lewis does want to just reiterate that the ASC does provide weekly group sessions, including APA, proper APA style and dissertation formatting. And then I don't know if this helps anyone in the room, but when I was a doctoral student, I absolutely loved doing the synchronous sessions with the Academic Success Center. It forced me to read my writing out loud, which also helped me make connections. I know we say to read your writing out loud, but it was also very helpful with the APA citation in case there was something that I missed. But generally speaking, just wanted to share that little personal anecdote. And then Arun was just wondering if you can please explain, please provide an example of convergence and not doing cherry picking.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, let's say, for example, and my examples here about teacher professional development, because I was just reading a dissertation about that, so that was in my mind. But say we're studying teachers in a classroom, and what we want to find out is what their needs are for professional development. Okay, so that's kind of the essence. And say, and this isn't going to be true, but just as an example, say that we find a research study that their findings are, yeah, teachers really don't need professional development. They're doing just fine. Well, it really doesn't help support what we're saying here, but it does say, like, wow, these people found that they don't need professional development, and we're saying, we need to do better at it. How does that fit into our study, and how can we do that? Probably the literature review, maybe in some of our interview questions if we're doing qualitative research. But that's the kind of idea with looking at the literature holistically rather than just picking out those pieces that really support what we want to do.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm seeing a question there. What resources allow us to analyze any papers for reliability and validity? So Dr. Broderick, you might want to talk about that a little bit because I'm not really sure what that question is. So articles wouldn't have, research really can, or it does have reliability and validity, quantitative research, but we really just need to read what the authors say and use our own knowledge to make that determination. That's why it's important, even if you're going to conduct a quantitative study, you need to know something about qualitative research too, so you can make those determinations. Dr. Broderick, do you have a better answer for that?
Well, I think that's a great answer, Dr. Bedford, but I'll think about it from my own hat as a linguistics person. A lot of people will take the terms like reliability and validity and think about them in the way of more colloquial language, right? And so when we're thinking about it for, like you said, quantitative research, it's one thing. And when we're thinking about it for like, is this it's a reliable source, right? That's a different thing. And so I think that's where people get confused. So let's think about word choice a little bit when we think about, we have examples with that with word choice. I think that's actually a really good example. I'm glad that you brought up that question from the participant who did that, because sometimes that's where we get off track and where we lose our swimming, we get lost.
Swimming in the wrong lane, maybe. I don't know.
Something like this. Yeah. Because we are thinking about the word. There's more than one way to think about a word.
Yeah. Thanks, Dr. Bradwick. That was really helpful.
And then if it's okay, would it be all right if we kind of address this? I'm hoping you do get to this. Maybe you have an example where there's multiple authors or researchers, just understanding how to put authors and researchers in the correct order. So I don't know if you cover that, hopefully.
We don't cover that, but there's an example in the next slide, and I'll just point to the next couple slides. I'll just point to it. And I'm not an APA expert, so if there's an APA expert in the room and you have something more to say, please do. Okay. Do you want to type some hints into the chat? That would be great, because I'm still learning too.
Thank you.
So on this slide, I have to apologize. There are a couple errors in this first one. There's a funny, hard return, and then design is spelled wrong. So we need to edit better, proofread better, but I apologize for that. But basically, so what I really kind of want to talk about here is whether or not our citations are really supporting what we're saying. So we want to include citations that in a way that, as Maggie said, honors the author's intention. So here's a couple examples, 3 examples of things that I see. Okay, so first of all, this study will incorporate a case study design, and then we cite Yin 2023. So when I see this, I'm thinking that, okay, Yin talked about case study design. And so that's where that's what the author is thinking. But Yin doesn't know about your study. Yin doesn't know that you're using a case study design. And, technically, he never said that. He said there's case studies design and said a lot of things about case study design, but he never said you will use it. Okay, so that's one thing I see a lot, and I see it in published papers too, and I've probably done it myself. So something to think about. And I'm going to show on the next slide some different ways, some better ways that we might say these things. This next one is all teachers need professional development to improve their teaching practice. When I see something like this, I'm suspicious. So what this tells me, and I'm going to say too, these citations are made up. There's no Jones 2025. But when I see something like this, I'm suspicious. It's unlikely that Jones conducted a study and found that all teachers everywhere at every level in every type of school need professional development because they need to improve their teaching. So that makes me suspicious. And that also then, if I'm reading an article, makes me wonder about bias. Is this author trying to prove something? Do they have a bias here that they want me to believe? So I'm not, that isn't the best way to say that. So the last one, and I see this a lot too, where sentences get split up by citations. So teacher professional development leads to enhanced classroom practices, Smith 2022, which results in better student outcomes. So Smith 2022 probably said that teacher professional development leads to enhanced classroom practices. They probably did some research, and that's probably true. But on what does this author base that enhanced classroom practices through professional development results in better student outcomes? It probably does, in my experience and what I observe, it does. But that part of that sentence just really is not supported by the literature at all. So this would be considered someone's opinion. Do you want to say anything more about these before we go to the revisions, Dr. Broderick?
These are great, Dr. Bedford. I'll just say that I see that first one all of the time. And I think sometimes the directive comes from the chair. You've got to cite Yin, you've got to cite Steg, you've got to cite whoever. And then they go, sure, boom, it's in. Think about how you're going to do it. Don't just do it. Think about doing it mindfully, because I see that one all the time.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
I will do
see.
purposive sampling, Miriam. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And I get it. Put the citations in, but do it a little more mindfully.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
So, some better ways, okay? And there are many ways. I mean, these aren't the best by any stretch. These are just some ways to think about maybe being more precise in our writing. So, the first one, this study will incorporate a case study design. Boom. You don't need a citation because you're talking about what you're going to do. Okay, so there's no citation. Then you move into, so you support a case study design according to Yin, and you'd have some kind of definition that Yin said. So, two things to remember about citing. When we're talking about what we're going to do, what we found, what our processes are, we don't cite. When we're providing rationale for those decisions, I'm going to use a case study, I'm going to use persuasive sampling, I'm going to use an instrument that was developed by these people. Those things do need to be cited. Okay? Did I say that right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's
I feel like I'm
the art of it, right?
okay.
That's
Yes,
the art.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
the
that
art.
is the art.
That's
Yep.
it. Yeah.
Yep. Knowing that difference. Okay. The second one, remember we just said all teachers need professional development. So this is more clear. In their interviews with 25 teachers in an urban elementary setting, Jones found that participants describe professional development as critical to their ability to teach effective. So here we know there's 25 teachers, they're in an urban setting, and this was a qualitative study. And the teachers said they need professional development. So instead of saying all teachers everywhere at every level in every school need professional development, here we're saying that the teachers say, these particular teachers are saying that they need it. More precise, clear. If I read this, I'd be like, oh, yeah, Jones probably said that, probably found that. And then the last one where we had where the citation breaks the sentence into two. So we couple different ways we could do this. So teacher professional development leads to enhanced classroom practices with the citation, which results in better student outcomes. Cite that. Some chairs, some authors, some coaches would tell you to make two sentences out of that and cite each one. Teacher professional development leads to enhanced classroom practices, period. And enhanced classroom practices, or however we want to say that, results in better student outcomes. And you might even want to say what those outcomes are. What is the study? Did Yoast do research to say this, or are they just saying it? Remember, just because somebody says something doesn't mean it's true. So that's a lot of those practice articles out there. So be careful to say so and so found if they didn't do research. They just said it. Okay. Dr. Broderick?
Yeah, exactly. These are great examples. These three, they really speak to what I see a lot. It also makes me think a little bit, Dr. Bedford, about, using language so carefully. Think about the example of the legal field, right? What if somebody wrote up some legal documents and wasn't clear, and then somebody said, "Oh gosh, well, look at that legal loophole. Look at that. I see a logical flaw. I see a problem," and then they win this legal case because of the way something's written. Similar, use that similar lens and that similar idea of writing really carefully so that you really are saying what you want to say and you're attributing appropriately. Just kind of thinking that way sometimes helps, I think.
Yeah, yeah, great insight. Thank you, Dr. Broderick. And as you're changing the next slide, there's a question.
Yeah.
Do you have some generalizable guidance about whether and or how papers from preprint sites like ssrn.com should be allowed for citing in a dissertation? How many citations are too many, since most of them are not peer reviewed? That's a really great question. And I'm going to say that really this is a conversation to have with your chair, because there's differences in opinions about that. Which is one of the cool things about working at this academic level. There's lots of different opinions and lots of different ideas about how all this works. And they're all relevant, all correct, really something that we all need to consider. So I guess I'm not really comfortable answering this question for everyone, because I know what I would tell my students. But somebody else might have a different opinion. Dr. Broderick, do you want to share anything about that?
I feel the same. And also within one committee, you may find, just
Yeah,
like we find with peer reviewers,
yeah.
right? And that is sort of the whole goal if you are a doctoral student in this journey, understanding that you're going to get different opinions there and
Mhm.
different things all based on, very
Yeah.
legitimate answers. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. So sorry about that. I don't mean to defer, but yeah, like I said, if you're my student, I'd tell you exactly what I think. But your chair really has is the best source for that kind of thing, and they want you to be successful. So, rely on them. Well, before we get into this example, if you look at the citation here at the end of that paragraph, I believe this is correct, and so this is how you would make a list. You would do the author's name. If there's more than one author, you would format it just like you would if it was a single et al. Or Jones and Smith or however many. They are separated with semicolons and they're alphabetized. So I think that's what that looks like. Are there any
Yep.
dissenters is there something? And that's fine because I'm not an expert. So if I've done something correct there, I don't want to tell people wrong.
No, Dr. Bedford, you're right on track. And also our academic success coach can also verify. Yes, you are
Thank
correct.
you.
Awesome.
That's what I was hoping would weigh
We
in. Thank you.
we have triangulation. Awesome.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. All right. Here's something else that I see a lot. Okay. So this paragraph says a lot. Um, it says how professional development is used. It tells what that effective professional development is grounded in adult education practices. It describes a little bit about what kind of instructional strategies we have, and then kind of what the outcomes are. And then there's 3 citations there. So while it could be true, it's unlikely that all 3 of these sources said the exact same things and had all of these ideas in their papers. Could be, but that's unlikely. So I'm also so when we have a paragraph like this and I read it, I feel like the author wrote something and just threw some citations in to make it look like it was legit. Maybe not, and I hate to be suspicious, but I read articles with a critical eye, and I'm kind of like, I wonder if these are exactly what these authors said about this and who said what. In many cases, I'll see just one. So I see this paragraph and then one citation after that. What that tells me is that the author just summarized the source. And there is a significant difference between a summary and a synthesis. And that's not one of our topics, but a summary is just, like a book report of one article. A synthesis uses a variety of perspectives, has a bunch of different citations in the paragraph, and gives the reader a perspective on the topic from a new lens. And that's what our goal is. And I will, we have an ASC person here. They have great sessions and great information on how to synthesize rather than summarize. So I'm going to leave that at there. But when I see these 3 at the end, if my student wrote this, I would ask them to clarify which authors said what. And so Maggie, if you'd go to the next slide,
Yeah.
here's a little bit different way. This might not be the best way, and there still might be questions, but just kind of an idea how we embed those sources within our discussion. You see there was one Yoast there we used twice. That's okay. But there's also different ideas and different perspectives about professional development throughout here. One of the questions I think that we didn't get to was, I'm not seeing it right now, but I think it was something about when is it too many citations? And certainly we can oversight, certainly that happens, but I would rather see oversighting than underciting, quite frankly. We want to be cautious that we don't present someone else's ideas as our own because that's plagiarism. And so if I see a sentence that I feel like it needs to be cited, I will ask the person, or if it's just something I'm reading in my head, it's like, I wonder where that person got this information. And if they just knew it, they observed it in their practice, then I would say that's unsubstantiated opinion. Probably true. But those ideas really need to be grounded in the research. Dr. Broderick?
Yeah, yeah. And it's exactly like we're saying, it's that art, right? Where does this belong? So I love how you mentioned, Laurie, how Yoast is in there twice because, that they said two different things and you want to say that instead of just putting it all at the end. I think people will get tripped up sometimes by the letter of the law versus the spirit of the law or something like that because they'll say, well, somebody told me once that the best tool for writing is to put a citation at the end or some rule like this, right? But it's really an art. There are rules and you have to follow the rules and they're APA style rules, but they are done artfully. It's not always, this is always here and this is always here. It's where does it actually
Right.
logically flow and what actually are we trying to say with our words? And that takes a little more thinking and a little more diving in.
Yeah, and I think that's really true. So there might be an occasion where you put a citation at the end. That's fine. I mean, we really need to think about again that art. And so if we think about it as art, if we take an art class and someone teaches me this is how you do this, apply this painting technique or whatever I'm learning. I might choose to do something different just because I think it's a better way to do it. And I feel like it would present what I'm trying to show better. That's perfectly fine. So, none of these, I think that's a great point, Dr. Broderick. None of these things are like written in stone. This is how you must do it.
Exactly, Dr. Bedford. All right, should we go to the next one?
I think that's the last one we had, the last example.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah,
Excellent. Okay,
yes.
so yeah, we just have our very important to have your APA manual. If it's not, like mine's right back there on the shelf. So really always happy to go grab it and take a little walk and get out of my seat and get a few steps. But if not, their website's pretty good for some of the most common things. So I find when I'm giving feedback to a student, I will often just go to that APA website and show them the link exactly. This is how a table format heading would be, or this is how a you know, we use the in-text citations. So there's that for you all. And then we just thank you. And, our hats are off to you. I know some of you will be finishing up your degrees and some of you are looking to publish and all sorts of things. So we can open the floor for some discussion at this point.
Absolutely, thank you. And then if we do have any questions that please that we didn't get to, please do raise your hand. I know that you had mentioned the synthesis kind of resources that are offered in the Academic Success Center. I'll make sure in the follow-up email that I do provide links to the Academic Success Center as well. And then I appreciated the last example that you gave because there was a question that did come up in the chat about when to put in page numbers in a citation. So again, I guess in terms of best practices that you maybe want to share right now, and then of course, if you do have other additional questions about that for APA citation, let's make sure you are working with coaches in the Academic Success Center, but anything that you want to mention about that in terms of citation with a page number.
Sure. Yeah, the page number for direct quotes, right? So this is
Yeah.
one that I find interesting too, because sometimes people will put something in quotes, but they mean emphasis, and that's different. If you really want to quote someone and use the words you use them, here I am using my quotation marks with my fingers, and then we put quotation marks or a block quote, but other things don't go in those murky waters of using quotation marks where you actually mean something else. There's other APA style. Other things on that, Dr. Bedford?
Yeah, yeah, page numbers. I know that, I see your hand up, Linda. Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the rule. I mean, sometimes when I see a book cited for some very specific thing, and I'm like, is that really what they said? And I would have to go look at the whole book to see if that's what they really said. It might be helpful, and I think you can use a page number in that case so that you can just clarify. Because that's another reason that we include those citations and the references. So if I'm wondering about the source, I can go back and look and see what they actually said. Because one of the questions was about, where did I miss that too? But so what we talked about, there was another slide. That's where we're like, is there another one? What we talked about including too, and then we didn't, was being sure how we cite an author is really what they said. Sometimes we kind of just get overzealous and we really want to show this idea. We really want to, and so we kind of, take a citation that's not really what they said. I mean, sometimes, and I'll just to be honest, I've seen such bold things as to cite something that has nothing to do with what was being said. So for example, if, I'm a case study design, blah, 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 and an article is studied that's a qualitative study that used a case study design. Like, those authors are not experts on case study design, they just used it. And I've seen this in other ways too, where an article mentions something, but those aren't really the findings. We have to be really careful about how we are using the author's work because we don't want to misrepresent that. And I'm going to get Linda, I'm going to give you a chance now.
Oh,
You're
don't forget to
unmuted.
unmute, Linda. Oh, sorry, Linda, you'll have to unmute. Are you able to unmute? Oh,
Okay,
there we go.
is that
There
better?
we are. Yes.
I just wanted to ask because I really had a problem doing my assignments because of the order of my citing in references at the end. I thought that, when you, at the end, when you put down your references, that is supposed to be by order of how you entered it into your assignment.
Alphabetical would be for citations.
Yeah, I
If
think
they're
the
all in that
order in
one.
which you
Yeah.
presented is MLA. So yeah, there's two different ways, and we use APA. So that may be what, you're used to.
Oh, because I know at one time I had read that the references of the sightings are supposed to be in alphabetical order, and then I seen where it's supposed to be in alphabetical order. But by the way that you did if you had an assignment and then you put your citing in the assignment, it's supposed to be by the order. Is that right?
So go ahead, Dr. Lewis. I see you've unmuted.
Yes, our expert is here.
Okay.
Thank you.
APA style for the reference section goes by the alphabetical order of the author's
Last name.
last name. So it's not the order in which you put it in your document, it's the order of the authors in alphabetical order. Last name, by last name.
Okay.
And then one of the points I wanted to make is a lot of students we help in the Academic Success Center, we also provide weekly group sessions on proper paraphrasing. And you want to paraphrase what the author said, not what you think you want to apply to that statement, because you want to support the idea with a strong citation. So we offer, I wrote it down here, proper paraphrasing every Friday. We have one on the 7th at 4 p.m. So there's a lot of group sessions we provide, synthesizing and analysis, and especially in citing your sources, we start with paragraph development, which we call the meal plan. You start with your main idea, which is the topic sentence. Then you provide evidence, and you analyze that evidence and analysis. Then your linking sentence that gives the reader a hint of what you're going to discuss in the next paragraph. So the chairs can let me know what their preferences are. And you're right, chairs have different preferences when it comes to citations. However, there's a standard you should still follow on your dissertation template.
Yeah, absolutely. For APA citations.
Yeah.
Yes. Thanks
Thank
so much,
you.
Linda, for that question. And thanks so much, Dr. Lewis. I appreciate you mentioning that. We had Dr. Stone Meredith come and do a couple of sessions on the meal plan, which were great skill up sessions. I know the Academic Success Center has sessions geared around that, but just know that if you wanted to learn a little bit more about that and through the Skill Up series, you can literally look up meal plan on the YouTube channel and it will pop up. All right, thank you so much on that. And then Arun, I know you have a question. Are you able to unmute and ask your question?
Yes, thank you, Emily, ma'am. Thank you for and it was really good presentation because in January next year I'm starting my dissertation sequence. This was really good. Thank you for the support. So I have one question related to the page number citing in the inline citation. So is it okay? I just give the like author name and the year in the like in the body of the essay, body of the thing, and in the references page at the end of the page, can I give the page numbers where that really I pick that particular quotation thing, or you want me to do inside the body of the writing only?
Okay,
Let's
I
get our
can answer
ASC
this
person on
question.
this.
Yes.
When you are citing in text and the sentence is less than 40 words, you will cite the author's last name, comma, the year, comma, and the page number, P period, page number, and you close the parentheses. If you are citing text that is greater than 40 words, then you would use a block text, meaning you would indent by 5, like half a point in your document, and you would state what that quote is. You would have a page number by period at the end, but you would not have any quotes. So it really depends on how much text you're quoting, whether it be a sentence or a few phrases or a long quote greater than 40 words.
Understand.
Yes,
Thank you,
Dr.
Dr.
Lewis.
Lewis.
You're welcome.
And then again, keep in mind that some programs don't use APA. Some programs do use MLA at national universities. So it's important to make sure you know. But I would say in general, most of them are APA. And I think Dr. Lewis could probably attest to that as well, too, as our as our lucky academic success center
Yes.
coach that joined us today. Thank you, by the way, for your expertise on that. Dr. Bedford, Dr. Broderick, thank you so much for coming to present today and provide this information to our NU staff, faculty, and students. And we really appreciate the time that you've taken to put this together for us. So great to see you all here today. And until the next time, I hope everyone has a great rest of their day.
Thank you so much for having us. Thanks. Thank you, Dr. Springer. Thanks everyone for being here. Thanks, Dr. Bedford.
Yeah, thank you too. And thank you, Dr. Lewis. Yeah, you didn't know you were going to present, right? Like talk
I
about
know.
Thank you.
Takes a village here.
It does. It does. All
Thank
right.
you.
Until the next
Bye.
time, everyone take care.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.